About 140 years ago, electricity was a luxury, a strange, glowing novelty creeping into a few luxury homes in places like New York City, powered by Thomas Edison's DC-powered brand new electric stations. It was loud, complicated, and nobody really knew if the whole thing would work. Meanwhile, across the other end of the argument, Tesla and Westinghouse had another idea: alternating current, power that could travel miles. In this war of the currents, one of the nerdiest, most consequential cage matches in history, Tesla won, and AC became the backbone of the modern grid we know today. Massive power plants sending electricity one way into homes, like this one that I own. And for the next century, that's just what became normal. Every place had a big power plant that pumped big grids worth of energy into our neighborhoods and then into our homes. The utility made it and you used it, and that's just the way it was. But something different is happening now. Homes and customers are starting to behave more like power plants and utilities. Solar panels, like you see on my home here, are capturing the sun and using that energy to power the home and even storing them in batteries. Electric cars and trucks are quietly filling up with energy while the rest of the world sleeps. The rules are changing. So here, in a completely normal, quiet suburban garage, we're about to push things a little further. Not because it looks cool on the wall, and let's be honest, it does, but because the modern grid has gotten a little weird. Electricity is cheap at night, expensive in the afternoon, and downright overpriced in the middle of peak. And the solar power is most valuable as the sun is starting to go down at the end of the day and folks are arriving at home to turn on their ovens and turn on their AC after work, and the grid is stressed the most. Which means the game now is about timing. Capture the sun in the morning, store it throughout the afternoon, run the house throughout the evening on batteries, and when the grid needs the power the most, send it back with the sun when it's the most valuable, while your house is running on that stored energy at the cheapest rate. But for me to get through that peak rate of 3 to midnight means that I need to add a battery. My rate is more than double during the peak hours compared to what it is overnight. That means for me to be able to operate the way I need to from 3 to midnight, I need to be able to add that second battery. My last video, you saw me take a road trip up to Roseville to get that battery and do just that. If you haven't seen it, when this video is over, go and check out that journey. It was really cool. So today, what I'm gonna do is get that second battery that we secured installed. Welcome to the future of home energy. Let's get started. All right, guys, so let's walk through what we added today. I'm gonna bring in Jeff from Legendary Electric to talk about what all was done and see how the magic happened. This is gonna be super cool. So Jeff, come on in and join us. Let's talk about what you and the team did here. Walk us through what we're looking at.
So this is the Tesla Powerwall 2. We installed this today on the mounting bracket. We got it all mounted to the studs, and then we piped over here, which leads back to our gateway. We went ahead and put a 30 amp breaker in here, so everything's all piped in and done. We also got a Tesla Powerwall charger here, all put in with a quick disconnect, so he could be able to move this if he wanted to and add in another EV charger. This is your emergency disconnect.
This is gonna be really cool, guys, because as you've seen, I've done a couple different charger videos. Right now I've got the IELO, and right now that's still using the NEMA 1450. So this one is gonna allow me to easily swap this out. Right now with the universal Tesla one, I can take and use this on both the Lightning and I can use this on the Model Y. So this allows me to have the J1772, and then I can put this back in here and then just pull it out and use it on my wife's Model Y. And importantly, this is hardwired, so I get the full 48 amps out of it, and I won't have the problem with the melting NEMA 1450 or any kind of issues like that. So thanks, man, for getting that hardwired for me. But importantly, I can easily rewire this with other adapters or other chargers, I should say, and do future tests. So I'm super excited for that. Very cool. And then the second Powerwall, how hard was this to add to the existing one? How did you pull that off?
So this is a very simple installation for us here at Legendary Electric. We just, like I said, we add it here. It goes paired with this one well. So
as far as commissioning it, where you've got someone else that did the first one and then you doing the second one, was that easy enough for you guys to commission that if someone has one existing and you want to add one?
Nope, not a problem. They just pair together just like normal.
And then if someone's doing a brand new build, they wouldn't be doing a Powerwall 2.
They would go with a Powerwall 3, which is the newer model.
That's awesome, man. So if people are looking to have either a charger done or a Powerwall 2 or 3, where would they contact you at?
Feel free to contact us at 916-297-2581. That's Legendary Electric. You could also find us at legendaryelectric.com.
That's awesome, man. So guys, look, this has been a super cool thing. We're going to walk you through the system, show you how the solar is working, how it's charging these up. Let's look at what it's at right now. We are sitting currently at 97% already, and it is right now coming up on, well, we got 5.1 kilowatts of solar happening at 2:40, and the peak hours start at 3 o'clock. So we've still got 20 more minutes, and it's already at 97%. So this is perfect. We will be at 100% battery on both of these Powerwalls when we hit 3 o'clock, and that means from 3 o'clock to midnight, we'll be fully charged and ready to go. None of those peak rates are going to hit us. So we're going to walk through the system with you, explain exactly what we're doing and exactly why we did this. This is amazing. So if you need either solar, Powerwalls, chargers, and you're anywhere from the Bay Area, Sacramento, they even got contacts down in LA, and you need any of this stuff done, Jeff and these guys at Legendary Electric, awesome. I'll leave their information down in the description. They can definitely help you out. Let's talk more about the magic of how this is going to work, how the math works. Let's get into the details. Let's go check it out. All right, guys, so let me walk you through how this system works, and then we will ask, does it make sense for you? Because that's really going to depend. It doesn't make sense for everybody. It absolutely makes sense for my situation. So first of all, in the morning, as the sun is rising at about 8 a.m., the sun is going to hit these 5 panels right here. The sun comes up right behind me. So that is going to basically power the home first thing in the morning, and my home will be working off the power of the sun. As it comes up, the home will be getting full power, and the batteries will start to recharge off solar. As it gets into the sky, it starts to hit all of these panels on the back roof of my house, and that gets maximum sunlight, gets all the way up to 4 and then 5 kilowatts of energy, and that will basically top off those batteries by about noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and that will get the Powerwalls completely full while also keeping the house powered the whole time. By that time, what will happen is the power for the home will be supplied again by solar, and all the excess power, now that the Powerwalls are filled, will head out to the grid. At that point, the value of the solar is still relatively low, somewhere around 23 to 25 cents. So that's not a lot. At that point, I can always plug a car in and start to charge on solar to take that low cost energy and put it into the battery of the car. That also answers the question, by the way, what would you do if the power went out to your home? How would you charge your car? I would simply charge on solar. So unlike folks on gas, where you cannot fuel your vehicle if the gas pumps are down, I will always have some type of supply going into my vehicles, even if it is slow and relatively low power. That is always a great benefit. Now, being here in California, I am not worried about snow, and although we do get some clouds and rain, certainly it is not substantial and is not something where I'm going to get zero solar. So again, in my situation, this is a great solution. California does sometimes get blackouts or have power outages, and so this is a huge benefit for me. Now, as we get further into the afternoon and evening, after 3 o'clock, this is where the peak rates start to hit. This is where double and even 150% of the value, it gets up into the 55, 56 cents of value. And that is where I'm going to now work entirely off of the stored battery energy. and send all of my solar off of these into the grid and essentially get 2 to 2.5 times value of energy onto my account to use later. And so that's where the real benefit of this starts to work in my favor. So as the sun starts to set behind me, these panels are capturing maximum value of the sun all the way down to sunset. So I have 15 of my panels here on the west side of my roof as the sun sets in the west, whereas only 5 panels are on the side where the sun is going to rise. Now, on a typical day here in March, my system will generate about 35 kilowatt hours of energy, and I will use anywhere from 14 to 18, depending on if I'm using the washer and dryer, if I'm using the oven, any of that kind of stuff going on. But I use far less than I generate. However, I need to bank that extra energy because as soon as I plug in the Model Y, or certainly when I plug in the Lightning, I am going to use a lot of that banked energy. And so that is critical. And in fact, I am going to use more energy than I generate. So that's where it's important that I'm getting that 2 or 2.5 to 1 ratio of value by sending back my solar energy when it's most valuable, never actually using my grid power at peak, using the stored battery energy, and that's why I need 2 of them, so that when I'm running my air conditioning in the summer, that I'm never using the high value energy between 3 and midnight. I'm always using the cheapest power stored in the batteries and only taking the high value solar and sending it back to the grid for stored bank value. Because then if I'm sending, let's say, I don't know, 500 kilowatt hours of peak energy back, I can then get I guess really a megawatt or even 1.25 megawatts of value back for using it for my vehicles, if that makes sense, because I'm getting so much value sent to the grid and they are paying me 2 times or 2.5 times value depending on when I'm sending it. So hopefully that makes sense. So the question is, does this make sense for you? Well, that's going to depend on the cost of your power, because here my cheapest rate ever is in the winter time, and you're talking about 23 cents per kilowatt hour. My most expensive is in the summer, and that's about 56 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, if you live in a part of the country where you have incredible rates and your power is 6 cents, 4 cents, 11 cents, then the expense of solar and a Powerwall battery, it may never pay for itself and it may not make any sense at all. Now, if you just want to be environmental and you just want to be self-sustaining and you just want to be off the grid, then absolutely buy it. Go for it. That's something cool to have and to do. If you want the battery backup because you get blackouts or you get power losses, absolutely. These are very cool things to have, and I love the ability to always have power. But in terms of return on investment, you got to do the math and see if it actually makes sense. In my case, I paid for my solar and my original Powerwall in about 7.5 years. So now I've got 20 years of solar, and these batteries are good for 10 plus years. So it's going to totally make sense for me. Same thing for the electric vehicles, of course. Although it sounds expensive to be powering these off 23 cents per kilowatt hour, I'm also in an area where the gas at the cheapest is $4.50, and currently, as the time of this recording, at the cheapest is $5.50, all the way up to $6 in some places here in the Bay Area. So I'm paying about a third or less if I were to pay for the electricity as compared to what I would be paying to gas up a similar type of vehicle like I had the Ford Edge before, or an F-150 gas or diesel would be way more expensive. I'm paying probably a quarter of what it would cost to gas up one of those. Now, because I do have the solar and I have the offsets, I'm paying, I don't know, a fifth, a tenth? Probably a tenth of what I'd be paying for gas. And up until now, it's been free altogether. So we'll see at the end of this year what the offset is and what my credit and balance is when I do my true-up statement. Ideally, if I get enough offsets, it'll be free. I won't pay anything at all. But if I do get a couple $100 or, $300, $400, $500 at the end of the year, but I drove, between the two cars, 25,000 miles for $500, I mean, that's going to be a pretty darn low cost per mile. But anyway, if you have questions, ask in the comments. Let me know what you think. Did this explain kind of why I added the second Powerwall? Would it make sense for where you live? Or is your cost of electricity so low that solar doesn't make any sense at all? Because in some situations, it makes more sense to do an industrial scale of solar, or your grid makes more sense to have utility scale power and putting solar on your roof if you've got heavy snow or areas where it's so cheap that the investment would never pay for itself. I'd love to hear from you. Hopefully this video was cool to watch. And again, like and subscribe, leave your comments, and all of that engagement helps the channel. If you're on mobile, hype it up. That's going to help me get views. Small channels rely on your engagement and your interaction and likes. So we'll see you next time on Bo Family EV. Thanks for tuning in. Love you.